I just want to make it super clear. I don't think that there's some evil, master plan out there that is aiming to domesticate men or turn men into simps. I don't think that that's true at all. I think that maybe some people are out there that want to make men more docile and more pliable and more easy to manipulate, for sure. I think that's for sure the truth. That has always been the truth, right? People in power have oftentimes wanted individuals, men and women alike, that are much more pliable and agreeable because then they're easier to get to do what they want. But the last piece is stress and distraction, right? So I just wanted to get that out of the way. I don't think there's some like big master plan to turn men into the simps. I think that there's these sort of categories that are colliding into men's lives that are overburdening their systems and causing these stressors. And we need to be able to talk about them so that we can start to face them. So stress and distraction, right? You've got porn. It's easier to access than ever before. You've got thirst traps, right? Yeah, TikTok, like cough, cough, right? TikTok, Instagram, whatever social media platform that you're on, even Reddit. I saw a stat the other day that Reddit has more NSFW, not safe for work content than it has ever had before. There's been like this massive spike in women going on to, like, women that have OnlyFans accounts going onto Reddit and creating accounts and flooding Reddit with not safe for work content. You've got the crappy food that we talked about. We've got the constant entertainment, right? You can watch HBO or Netflix or Amazon or whatever your favorite anime show is, or Succession season that's coming up. We've got rough dating conditions. The economy is pretty brutal, I think, for the average person, right? You've got inflation, so that increases your amount of stress. It's harder to buy a house than it ever is, has been before. So, you as a young man or, a man in your 30s and 40s, it's harder for you to buy a house than it was objectively for your father or your grandfather to do so. Now, they had very different conditions, but objectively and statistically and financially, from an economic standpoint, it's harder for you to purchase a house than it ever has been before. So a lot of people, they wake up stressed. A lot of guys are going through the day stressed, that go to bed stressed, and that stress, and then they rinse and repeat, that stress also has a negative impact on your levels of testosterone, on your sperm count, on your ability to feel energized and motivated. And so this stress and distraction that we are constantly surrounded by infringes on your ability to feel driven and motivated and connected to a deeper sense of your masculine core. So I think that these are some of the pieces that are leading to the over-domestication of men. Now, hopefully that's not too doom and gloom. I know that can sound pretty freaking bleak, but there's a couple simple things, right? One thing that I just want to say is that resistance has always been the training ground of masculinity, right? Being able to face hardship, being able to be in a time that is stressful has always made incredibly potent, grounded leaders of men. It has always produced that. And if you look historically and from an anthropological stance of what has made men really who they are and what has developed our masculinity over the years, it's always in situations and circumstances that are challenging. And there's something about the masculine essence, there's something about the core of masculinity that wants to face challenges. So I'm not saying that this is inherently a bad thing, right? A couple things that we can do. One is very intentionally reduce your social media time. That might mean that you delete a couple apps. Like, I've just never had TikTok on my phone. I've never been on the platform. I don't really like it. I don't go on Facebook anymore, like hardly ever, unless my family sends me a message. I will go on Instagram, but I limit it to certain times and a certain amount of time per day. So limit and restrict your amount of social media time. Approach women in person, right? Go have conversations with women IRL in real life, because this develops your sense of risk. It develops your, instead of being risk averse, you start to be okay with taking risks. You start to be okay with rejection. You start to develop these traits that not only women find appealing, but develop your sense of confidence as a man, regardless of your age. Start to lift heavier weights, start to get out into nature, start to get more sunshine, start to make some deeper male friendships. Stop blaming women for all your problems. It's like I see this sort of reaction sometimes that's out there online where some men, not all guys, but some guys have a tendency to be like, well, all the problems, they're doing exactly what the women that they complain about do, right? Which is like, oh, women just blame men for all the problems. But then when you listen to some of these guys talk, what they're actually doing is they're just blaming women for all of men's problems. And that's not freaking helpful, right? So stop blaming women for all your problems. Realize that life is inherently hard and that that's part of the point. Part of the point in a man's life is being able to, in a robust, cognitive, conscious, grounded, and understanding way, learn how to face the hardships of life. It is not meant to be easy. And one of the last pieces that I didn't talk about in here that I'm just going to bring forward right now is that there's this big push within our modern culture and society that says that life should be easy in many ways, shape, or forms. We have trigger warnings and safe spaces and words are violence and all this type of nonsense that is communicating to people that how you feel is more important than the facing of hardship. And there are some people who are committed to taking a moral stance and a moral high ground, and more committed to that than actually facing the hardships of life. And what I will say is that my life is what it is today, not because I've had it easy, not at all. I have failed countless times. But I have failed my way towards success in my career. I failed my way towards success in my relationships for sure. I've learned from my failures along the way. That doesn't mean that we continue to fail, but to face the hardship of your life is actually the point. And it points you towards the sharpening and the development of your own masculinity. So if anybody comes along and tells you that life should be easy and you should avoid hardship and you should do things that are easy for you, my advice is don't listen. My advice is completely ignore that person and to start to design your life to have intentional hardship, to actually have intentional hard stresses that you're moving yourself towards, and to eliminate the shitty stress and distraction and nonsense that is actually weakening you physically, cognitively, and emotionally. Right? If you wake up every morning and go jump in a cold plunge and then go work out and you have a meditation practice or you're journaling and you're chasing after your goals and you're going and talking to women and you're living a life that you have started to design, that is going to put you more in touch with your own masculinity and your own masculine core than kind of just floating through your day, working a job that you hate, watching Netflix every night, smashing potato chips into your face, and rubbing one off at the end of the day, watching porn to some woman that you'll never talk to. That is going to unequivocally weaken you as a man and disconnect you from your masculinity.